Is it possible for you to form a relationship with someone who doesn't know you and has never met you? Or with someone who doesn't even exist? Yes, you can. There's even a name for it. A parasocial relationship.
Creators find that the more they give their audience, the more their audience gives back to them. Think of it like having a conversation with a friend, or 1,000 of them.
I'm giving you attention, girl that's wooing. Are you happy now? You love me? That's very nice. You love the idea of me. You don't know me, but that's okay. It's called a parasocial relationship. It goes one way and is ultimately destructive. But please, keep buying all my shit forever.
And the best part about it, man, you got all these young fans, and which is great because young people, they're very passionate, and they're very reliable consumers. But what you got to do in order to take your career to the next level, you got to cater more heavily to them.
That's how it works. Capitalism, I'm trapped. It's terrible. I'm a horrible person.
Art is dead, so people think you're funny. How do we get those people's money?
Girl, I love you so much. I wish we could be together. Unfortunately, we can't because I'm rich and famous and you're not. But why don't you just go out and buy my album? And tell your friends about it too so that they also go out and buy it.
This video will offer a basic definition and an exploration of the essay that originated the concept and the term. Part 2 will deal with parasocial relationships with fictional characters and with real people, including where that line is blurred. Part 3 will expand on the research covering these relationships, along with their applications and how they have been deliberately fostered and used, for better or for worse. And Part 4 will be my own personal conclusions and advice regarding them, especially the phrase, "don't meet your heroes." This is something really important to name and to think about, especially with the way that these relationships can be used to exploit vulnerable people, are used in place of actual relationships in a way that is unhealthy.
I also hope that you don't see through this cleverly constructed ruse designed by a marketing team, cashing in on puberty and low self-esteem and girls' desperate need to feel loved.
And I feel like it's a topic that's very rarely touched on. I only became aware of the term about a year and a half ago, despite being obsessed with media. And I feel like this is something all of the people watching this video have experienced, even if you haven't ever really thought about it or tried to name it. Parasocial relationships have been researched so extensively that studying them and condensing information about them down is daunting, but they seem unheard of in a wider context. Normally, I can pull from other video essays and documentaries and interviews for supplementary clips, but on YouTube, for example, there are just some TED and TEDx talks, maybe a couple of video essays, and a bunch of PowerPoint-style school projects and vloggers and academics talking into the camera. The term parasocial relationships gives about 900 results. Other variations on the phrase in an academic context give far fewer results, and while parasocial gives a ton of results, most of them are not in English and have nothing to do with the theory. Compare this to auteur theory, which I did an essay on a couple of years ago, which has over 10 times the results, with a ton of video essays by well-known YouTube editors and personalities, and interviews and documentaries with famous filmmakers and the like. I will refer to what videos I did find throughout this series, but overall, I was surprised by the difference between the dozens and dozens of academic studies and essays I found, and the lack of video covering them. And I was compelled to try to help bridge that gap and provide more accessible information on these relationships.
看一个人的影片时，会觉得那个人好像直接跟我们讲话。其实，我们的大脑会觉得我们真的认识那个人。
Also, please note that me talking about a particular character or personality in this series does not imply that I'm endorsing them or their beliefs. Parasocial relationships can be formed with all sorts of people and all sorts of characters, and me talking about a persona in this series is certainly not an endorsement of that persona. Okay, so what are parasocial relationships, and why do I care so much about them?
I'm in magazines full of model teens so far above you. So read them and hate yourself, then pay me to tell you I love you.
In 1956, Donald Horton and Richard Wohl published Mass Communication and Parasocial Interaction, Observations on Intimacy at a Distance in the journal Psychiatry. Note that while I'm leaving my excerpts from the piece unaltered, it was written in the 50s, so keep that in mind when outdated and potentially offensive words like invalid or the million times personas and spectators are referred to as he come up. Their essay opens with the following paragraph. One of the striking characteristics of the new mass media, radio, television, and the movies, is that they give the illusion of a face-to-face relationship with the performer. The conditions of response to the performer are analogous to those in the primary group. The most remote and illustrious men are met as if they were in the circle of one's peers. The same is true of a character in a story who comes to life in these media in an especially vivid and arresting way. We propose to call this seeming face-to-face relationship between spectator and performer a parasocial relationship. They refer to figures, personalities, whose existence is a function of the media, as personae, referring to quizmasters, announcers, and interviewers who speak directly into the camera in an attempt to get the audience to consider that they are involved in a face-to-face exchange rather than in passive observation. They describe TV shows and radio shows a persona would be on as personality programs. They quote Dave Garroway, a radio and television personality, describing how he stumbled on the device. Most talk on the radio in those days was formal and usually a little stiff, but I just rambled along, saying whatever came into my mind. I was introspective. I tried to pretend that I was chatting with a friend over a highball late in the evening.
Dave was one of the first that didn't say ladies and gentlemen. You know, the idea when you were broadcasting to get on, I saw, you know, there are millions of people out there, so you say ladies and gentlemen. Well, you're not broadcasting to ladies and gentlemen. You're broadcasting to individuals or small groups in a home or in an intimate setting, and that's the way Dave approached it. It was kind of new to do that then.
Then, and later, I consciously tried to talk to the listener as an individual, to make each listener feel that he knew me and I knew him. It seemed to work pretty well then and later. I know that strangers often stop me on the street today, call me Dave, and seem to feel that we are old friends who know all about each other.
This was a man who was able to look into that lens, as I am doing now, and talk to people at home as if he was talking one-to-one with you.
Horton and Wohl describe parasocial relationships as a simulacrum of conversational give and take in opposition to orthosocial relationships, the difference lying in lack of effective reciprocity. It is a relationship that is one-sided, non-dialectical, controlled by the performer, and not susceptible to mutual development. They also say that the persona offers, above all, a continuing relationship, where its appearance is a regular and dependable event to be counted on, planned for, and integrated into the routines of daily life. To say that he is familiar and intimate is to use pale and feeble language for the pervasiveness and closeness with which multitudes feel his presence. And the persona's character and pattern of action remain basically unchanged in a world of otherwise disturbing change. It's a relationship where the technical devices of the media themselves are exploited to create illusions of intimacy, with no challenge to the spectator's self. Horton and Wohl were talking about radio and television, but all this applies even more so to internet personalities, being that the techniques of exploiting these relationships have had time to be honed and refined over the past 60 years. The YouTube Creator Academy, free courses available online behind the scenes to YouTube content creators, give recommendations for techniques that deliberately foster parasocial relationships with audience members, using terms like be authentic and make your community feel loved, in the same courses as phrases like long-term channel growth and how can you capitalize on this, even encouraging YouTube personalities to develop and play up catchphrases and give special names to fans. Back to Horton and Wohl. All these devices are indulged in not only to lure the attention of the audience and to create the easy impression that there is a kind of participation open to them in the program itself, but also to highlight the chief values stressed in such personality shows. These are sociability, easy affability, friendship, and close contact. Briefly, all the values associated with free access to and easy participation in pleasant social interactions in primary groups. Because the relationship between persona and audience is one-sided and cannot be developed mutually, very nearly the whole burden of creating a plausible imitation of intimacy is thrown on the persona and on the show of which he is the pivot. If he is successful in initiating an intimacy which his audience can believe in,
for giving generation upon generation of children confidence in themselves, for being their friend,
then the audience may help him maintain it by fan mail and by the various other kinds of support which can be provided indirectly to buttress his actions. A fun part of the study is where Horton and Wohl posit that other attitudes than compliance in the assigned role are, of course, possible. One may reject, take an analytical stance, perhaps even find a cynical amusement in refuting the offered gambit and playing some other role not implied in the script.
It's Pikachu! God damn it!
Or view the proceedings with a detached curiosity or hostility, which, of course, is what I'm doing right here. You can also see it in the adversarial spectatorship of Mystery Science Theater 3000, especially in their educational shorts.
So, you never want to see another spring, eh? Okay, mister, I'll fix it so you get that wish.
In hell!
And in Red Letter Media's Nerd Crew.
Hello and welcome to another very special episode of the Nerd Crew. As always, I'm Mike.
And I'm Jay, and I'm just someone that really loves comic books and Star Wars. I didn't used to. until it became commercially viable, and now, me personally, I love talking about Star Wars. I thought it was fucking stupid, but now I think it is the most amazing thing in pop culture.
A series that is a vicious parody of quote-unquote nerd podcasts and videos that exist to milk revenue from fans of geek culture.
And today's sponsor is Nerd Coffin. That's right, it's a coffin for nerds!
The inside is lined with a material featuring all of your favorite pop culture characters. You can choose from Star Wars, Marvel, or DC characters to stare at while you lay in a coffin waiting for your body to rot.
Nerd Coffin will install a Wi-Fi enabled flat screen television directly into your coffin, and when a new geek culture movie is released, it'll be streamed directly into your grave.
Horton and Wool differentiate between the kind of identification a spectator would have with a character in a play or film with a parasocial interaction. When you're looking at a fictional character as a part of a drama separate from yourself, you certainly might identify with that character, even on a deep emotional level, what they refer to as that loss of situational references and self-consciousness. With a parasocial relationship and a personality program, though, the persona continually addresses the spectator, with these references serving to remind the spectator of their own independent identity. The only illusion maintained is that of directness and immediacy of participation. With a drama, you surrender control through identification. With a parasocial relationship, you are called upon to make appropriate responses which are complementary to those of the persona.
I need your help to stop Swiper. You have to say, Swiper, no swiping. Say it with us.
Which is referred to as the answering role, described as, to a degree, voluntary and independent. They describe watching a drama as a closed system, with roles that are predetermined in their mutual relations, and a persona's performance which is open-ended, begging for a specific answering role to give it closure. They say, the personality program, in contrast to the drama, is especially designed to provoke occasion for good-natured joking and teasing, praising and admiring, gossiping and telling anecdotes, in which the values of friendship and intimacy are stressed. Horton and Wool say of a parasocial relationship that the greatest pains are taken by the persona to create an illusion of intimacy. We call it an illusion because the relationship between the persona and any member of his audience is inevitably one-sided, and reciprocity between the two can only be suggested. They speak of a general propaganda on the behalf of personae with the major theme that the performer should be loved and admired, where every attempt possible is made to strengthen the illusion of reciprocity and rapport in order to offset the inherent impersonality of the media themselves. There's an emphasis on the ideal performer having heart and being sincere, with a performance that's real and warm so that the audience is entreated to assume a sense of personal obligation to the performer. They reference Robert K. Merton's Mass Persuasion, the social psychology of a war bond drive, describing his acute analysis of the audience's demand for sincerity as a reassurance against manipulation. The study was published in 1946 and examined a radio entertainer named Kate Smith's efforts to sell war bonds on the CBS radio network. An abstract for the study says that the emphasis in the analysis is on the personal social dynamics in the individual which are stimulated to react by the symbols presented by Smith. The social and cultural context which gave such a catalytic effect to Smith's type of persuasion are considered in terms of the meanings which they had for the listeners. The moral implications for political manipulators using this potent type of radio technique is examined in the light of the research findings. Merton said, on every side, Americans feel themselves the object of manipulation, the target for ingenious methods of control, through advertising which cajoles, promises, terrorizes, through cumulatively subtle methods of salesmanship which may simulate values common to both salesman and client for private and self-interested motives. Listeners felt a magnified will to believe in Kate Smith's sincerity as a consequence of living in a society which has foregone a sense of community and has substituted the mere pretense of common values in order to further private interest. And that techniques of persuasion are known to have a long history, and they have, probably, a longer prehistory. But never before the present day has the quick persuasion of masses of people occurred on such a vast scale. The trivial and the large decisions alike are made the object of deliberate control. Large populations are brought to prefer a given brand of soap or hair tonic or laxative. Or, predisposed by their conditions of life, large masses are persuaded to follow a political leader who means many things to many men. Loyalties are captured and control of mass behavior temporarily ensured. Horton and Wool mention that viewers are also expected to benefit by his wisdom, reflect on his advice, sympathize with him in his difficulties, forgive his mistakes, buy the products that he recommends, and keep his sponsor informed of the esteem in which he is held. That's part of the insidiousness of parasocial relationships.
Give this song to young, impressionable, and insecure teenage girls. 'Cause all you gotta say is, ooh baby, I love you, ooh girl, I need you in my world.
It's one thing to feel a connection to someone or something, even if it's just one way. It's another for that connection to be deliberately fostered and then exploited for monetary gain.
And your parents will always come along because their little girl is in love. And how could love be wrong? Rich men making money off of their investment. Ooh, it's so sexual, baby.
This might sound hypocritical considering I make money off of Patreon, but I'm asking for money from patrons to help me keep making videos. Not asking for donations from friends, or for people to buy from any corporate sponsors. And though I might not always succeed,
It must be psychotic, it must be demented to think that I'm worthy of all this attention, of all of this money you worked really hard for. I slept in late while you worked at the drugstore.
I do try to speak from a place of approachable expertise and come across more as a laid-back film school instructor rather than a close friend, and keep at least somewhat of a barrier up. It's off-putting and disturbing when I see other content creators use parasocial relationships to deliberately and cynically manipulate audiences. Horton and Wolf speak of personality programs being particularly favorable to the compensatory attempts by the socially isolated, the socially inept, the aged and invalid, the timid and rejected, where the persona himself is readily available as an object of love, especially when he succeeds in cultivating the recommended quality of heart.
Yeah, we know it's not right, we know it's not funny, but we'll stop beating this dead horse when it stops spitting out money. But until then, we will repeat stuff.
I do think people who are more isolated and vulnerable are more susceptible to exploitative parasocial relationships. I also think that in modern day, the quality of heart varies. Far-right conspiracy theorists like Alex Jones are seen by fans as truth-tellers.
But the thing that I will say in your favor is you never, to me, come across as insincere. I believe that you mean what you say, and I believe that you mean what you're doing.
Get away from me, racist! She's God! He's on loose! He's on loose! Never stop me! Racist!
It's always heartening to me when I find somebody who's the same off screen as they are on.
Gay bomb, baby!
Because there's a sort of authenticity and earnestness about you that I really like.
I was told by a genetic engineer, they got humanoids crossed with fish and stuff. I mean...
Because I know you mean it.
And some people are fans of edgelords or fan of other cynical, hateful types because their cynicism is read as sincere and more real than kindness is. Horrible white supremacist Baked Alaska addresses his viewers as fam and wants you to, quote, remember to subscribe, comment, share, smash that like button, and smash that bell button. The exact same way any former Vine star or other benign personality would. Months and months ago, when I was first researching for this essay, I coincidentally came across this tweet on my timeline. I had difficulty figuring out its origin because it's an image that has been posted again and again on the internet, typically tagged Forever Alone, before it later became more associated with podcasts and the like. It encapsulates the feel and the allure of parasocial relationships while also plainly making fun of them and differentiating them from actual two-way relationships. Horton and Wohl point out that the encouragement of, not to say demand for, a sense of intimacy with the persona and appreciation of him as a real person is in contradiction to the fact that the image he presents is to some extent a construct, a facade, which bears little resemblance to his private character. It's easy to feel that you know someone if you're familiar with them through their work, but unless you've actually interacted with them, you don't know them. You can watch every minute of every video essay and review and short film I put up and read everything I've written, including a frankly shameful number of tweets. And on top of that, I could start a podcast and do hundreds of episodes. So you could have hundreds or thousands of cumulative hours of me talking alone or to friends to consume, and you could consume every minute of it, but you still wouldn't have a real relationship with me. You'd get my public persona, what I choose to say while I'm being recorded, which is removed from the realm of actual two-way social interaction. Parasocial interaction theory is just as valuable as auteur theory, if not more valuable, because it's an examination of relationships that, despite not being real, can have a powerful emotional impact on anyone that's ever been a big fan of any person or of any piece of art made by a person. And any powerful emotional effect minus rigorous examination and reflection can lead to manipulation and exploitation, which I'll talk about more in future videos. For this video, I just wanted to lay the groundwork and give you incentive to start examining parasocial relationships you might have and how they might be affecting your day-to-day life. Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed this video, please consider donating to my Patreon. I also have plenty of other video essays, film reviews, and comedy and horror short films on my channel, so feel free to check those out as well. Look forward to part 2 of this series coming soon. Thanks!